What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is Guys at Magic, and today we're going to be talking about some of the rares and mythic cards that got spoiled out of the Murders at Karlov Manor set. Today is January 18th, 2024. I don't know why I keep saying the year. I did that same thing in the last video, but thank you for sticking with us through that. Also, by the way, in the case that this is your first time watching us, my name is Dave, and joining me today we have Shane. Shane, say what's up.
What's up, nerds?
All right, so our first card that we're going to talk about today is Vannifar Evolved Enigma. She is 2, a green and a blue for a legendary creature, Elf Ooze Wizard. She's a 3/4, and she says at the beginning of your combat on your turn, choose 1. The first mode here says cloak a card from your hand. The second mode says put a +1/+1 counter on each colorless creature you control.
This is exciting. I love Simic, and this seems. I know we're not going to completely talk about commanders, but this seems like a really fun commander, dude.
It does. As far as just like this set is concerned, though, what are your thoughts on this? Potentially just like standard or like a limited environment?
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how the whole cloak disguise, like tweaking of morph, how that plays out in standard. I want to say. I feel like it's gonna be really fun and limited. I'm sure there's gonna be an archetype for cloak and disguising and all that good stuff. So limited, not too worried about that. But standard, I don't really know since it's a brand new mechanic that wasn't existing in the previous sets. The only help you'll be getting is from this set, and you might not have enough to like fully sustain a deck, but maybe just this card by itself, like splashing that ability could be enough. I don't know. Seems pretty good though.
It does seem pretty good. Also, another like really important thing to note here is that +1/+1 counter, you're going to put it on each of your colorless creatures. So if you are playing like a go wide, maybe artifact creature based deck, you could potentially capitalize on that to start spreading the wealth amongst your team.
That's true. But as like I said,
So,
as a commander, I'm keeping my eyes on this one.
alrighty. I do think this one might be a little bit too slow coming in at 4 mana, but I do like the abilities of it. I think that they're both pretty powerful. I am curious to see how much Cloak really takes off, but I like the overall design of this card.
Same.
Up next, we have Drag the Canal. This is a blue and a black, total of 2 mana for an instant. It says create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. If a creature died this turn, you gain 2 life, surveil 2, then investigate. So a lot of stuff going on here for a relatively cheap instant.
It is a relatively cheap instant. I mean, you get the body, and then I'm assuming you want to always be doing this after something dies, because I feel like that's where you just really capitalize on the meat of this card, right? Because a two mana 2/2 just doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, though, is that I don't know if any of the aspects of this card actually fully seem like enough.
Yeah.
Gaining 2 life, I can forget about. Surveilling 2 is pretty powerful. And then investigating, I think, is just kind of like so-so. My curiosity here being is like, this card does a lot of little things, but ultimately it's still going to take up a spot in your deck. Is this a card that you would want to play?
If something died, I feel like that is a lot of value. And you got to admit, I know you said that you can forget about the life gain and you like surveil and investigate's kind of meh, but all together for 2 mana, if something died and then you get a creature and all that, it might be enough. I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying though. It might not. It might not be enough. Who knows?
No, it does seem to do a lot. At the same time, though, I feel like none of these things are super impactful. At least not enough to like really want to push me in the direction of playing this, because this is going to be an opportunity cost. If I'm putting this in my deck, it means I'm not putting something else in.
Yeah, and then you're also kind of only getting like half that card, right? Because investigate, you still got to dump more mana in it to get the card. Yeah.
Well, not just that. I don't know. I look at like on the low end of this card, this is 2 mana for a 2/2 creature that I guess like you can make it come in at instant speed. So that's cool. Like you can have a surprise blocker, but that's not why you're going to be playing this card. And if you are playing this card and using that just for the 2/2, things are not going well for you.
I would agree.
We're going to go ahead and move on. Our next card we're going to talk about is the Pride of Whole Clade. This is 10 and a green for a total of 11 mana. It is a legendary creature, crocodile, elk, turtle. That's right. It is all the creature types you ever hoped that it would be. This thing says, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total toughness of creatures you control. It has Defender. It also has another ability in which you may pay 2 and 2 blue. And it says, until end of turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0. It gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. Draw cards equal to its toughness. And it also says, and can attack as though it didn't have Defender. And then this thing's just a casual 2/15.
Just a casual. This seems like a really fun card, David, in a very specific style of deck, I'm pretty sure. Like, Arcades players are going to be kind of stoked, right?
I mean, any of those kinds of decks where you care about like really big toughness creatures, yes, I do think that they'll love this card.
Because I mean, a 1 green mana 2/15 seems pretty good because let's be honest, in those defending decks, it's not going to be difficult to make this cost with 1 mana. So that's kind of cool.
I mean, that is true. At the same time, though, this is a completely dead card in your hand unless you've already got a couple of like big booty creatures in play.
Yeah, you don't want to be starting the game off with this in your hand. So there's that. I mean, it's cool though. I like it.
Yeah, I do think that there's definitely a lot of upside here. That ability, the 4 mana ability there, that is potentially a lot of card advantage.
Yep, very much
So,
so.
pretty cool card. We'll talk
Yeah.
about this one a little bit more later on whenever it comes to that commander breakdown.
Yeah.
The next card we're going to talk about is Connect the Dots, or Connecting the Dots. We're not entirely sure. We've tried to translate this one. We've gotten both. But this is 1 and a red for an enchantment, and it says whenever a creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library face down. You can't look at it. It also says you may pay 1 and a red to discard your hand, sacrifice Connect the Dots, put all cards exiled with Connect the Dots into their owner's hands. Lots going on here.
A lot's going on there. Yeah, you're right. I don't think I've ever really seen that you can't look at it, right? Like, when's the last time you saw that?
Remind me here, the little Kaladesh, the 1 mana hasty 1/1 that exiled the top card of your library and then you could sack it later on.
Oh, yeah.
Could you look at those? Because that's
Mail
actually what this
something or
card
whatever.
reminds me a lot.
Yeah, I don't remember if you could look at it or not, but I don't know. This card though, this card seems, if you're playing mono red, David, would you like even care? Because let's say you go Hellbent, you spend every card in your hand, and now you just get these cards for free. I guess not for
No,
free, you're
that,
paying 2, but
that's exactly what you want to do. You want to swing it
yeah,
a bunch of times. You want to make sure that you have like a ton of cards exiled.
yeah,
And then whenever you look at your hand and you're like, well, you know what? I don't really have a whole lot of action anymore. Or you know what? Maybe the risk to reward ratio is just like tipped a little bit more in my favor. Let me go ahead and get rid of my hand. And let me put all those exiled cards into my hand instead.
yeah. This
Also,
seems
you're
nuts.
discarding your hand. So like it's not like your hand is going into exile too. So like there are other ways you can get around like breaking this. This is a set that cares about the graveyard.
Yeah, this seems nuts, dude. This seems like you're just gonna get advantage playing mono red. Like, did they need this help? I don't know.
I do think this is powerful enough to see play.
I
It
think
is
so.
not a creature, so that is kind of like a little bit of a downside here. However, at the same time, it's only 2 mana. It's very cheap for you to be able to get this. And then once you do have this in play, like this is a ton of card advantage for you. It's going to help you be able to like rearm and re-equip later on down the road whenever
Yeah.
you otherwise as like a burn player or like an aggro player would have just puttered out.
Yep, I was gonna say the exact same thing. All those mono red players where they're just like, well, I exhausted my hand. Let me just get a whole new hand now.
Yep, pretty solid card.
Yeah.
We do have 2 other cards we're going to talk about today. These are not rares or mythics, but these ones were pretty highly talked about whenever it came to social media. So we wanted to go ahead and dive in, at least give our take on those, especially considering, there's not really a whole lot of rares or mythics that got spoiled today. They went a little bit on the lighter side. So the first card here that we're going to talk about is Escape Tunnel. This is a land that has 2 abilities. The first one says that you can tap it and sacrifice Escape Tunnel to search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. The second ability says that you can sacrifice Escape Tunnel, and it says target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn.
I'm thinking it was talked about because we all said the same thing. It's like maybe better Evolving Wilds just because there is the upside later in the game, right? But I'm not like super high on this card or anything.
I'm not super high on this card either. I do understand that, yes, budget builds, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, those kinds of cards do obviously see play. They're in tons of precons out there for Commander products. I don't think that this one is all that great. I think that this was probably printed in common because this is a very color-heavy set, just as Returning to Ravnica in general. So this is a way for you to be able to potentially tutor for the land color that you need. And it does have that additional upside of giving like the unblockable, but it's only going to care about a small thing, and you can only do it once because you're going to sacrifice this land.
Yeah. So I mean, I get it. It does have some versatility to it, but it's not like insane.
Yeah, I would probably play this in limited if I am like splashing 3 colors or going really crazy and doing even more than that. Outside of that, I don't know if I would actually play this card.
I probably wouldn't either.
And then the last card we're going to talk about today is Persuasive Interrogators. This is 4 and 2 black for a total of 6 mana. It is a creature Gorgon Detective. It's a 5/6, and it says whenever it enters the battlefield, investigate. It also says whenever you sacrifice a clue, target opponent gets 2 poison counters.
Interesting. Getting some poison. It's pretty expensive, but that ability seems pretty mean. Not gonna lie.
So another way to look at this is you have to have 5 clues and 10 mana on top of this creature being in play.
That's true.
I don't know if this does it for me, because there's really no other way for you to be able to spread poison, at least not from what we've seen so far in this set. Outside of this set, maybe, sure, this could be a fun little way for you to be able to help kind of like spread the poison counters, given, of course, like infect or toxic. But I'm not very high on this card, actually.
Yeah. I mean, you could have clues and then you could sacrifice the clues with other means, right? You don't have to do the whole pay to sacrifice it. So, I mean, maybe, like, and I'm stretching for that. Like, maybe you're making a bunch of clues and then you have other means to sacrifice it. That's the only reason why I would probably play this card because it is pretty heavy. Like you said, it's 6 mana, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, it's 6 mana. This is also stapled onto a creature, which is the easiest permanent time for people to just blow up.
Yeah.
It is a cool card. It does have some upside, and then the body on it just being a 5/6, like that's not bad. And at the very bare minimum, whenever it comes in, it's gonna make you a clue token, so it kind of starts its own engine. And does have the potential to just like replace itself, so long as you have the ability to pay that extra 2 mana later on, which you should. I'm just looking at this from a standpoint of like this. I think is a little bit too slow to really do what it wants to do. And in some faster formats, so things like standard, I just don't think that this makes the cut. I think this is probably too expensive and not impactful enough coming in at 6 mana.
Yeah, unless you're like reanimating it, then maybe. But yeah.
Even if I am like reanimating something, though, I don't know if I'm going to reanimate this. I don't think this is going to be my target in those kinds of decks.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know.
All right, well, that is going to do it as far as our cards that got spoiled today. Do us a huge favor. Make sure that you comment down below. List what was your favorite card that got spoiled. Also, if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you like and subscribe on this video. Follow us on our other social media. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and we are also on Twitter. And then if you want to really spread some love here, we do have a Patreon. Go ahead and find that link down below if you want to support us. We couldn't do this without all the love and support that you guys give us. Thank you so much. And hopefully you smash away at that subscribe button and maybe you could be our 10,000th subscriber. So that's pretty special to us. So thank you again for all of you out there watching those videos.
Yep.
All right. And until next time, this has been Guys of Magic. Peace.
Bye-bye.